You're tuned in to the Breaking Red podcast, the show for rising military leaders who want to trailblaze the future. We tackle the profession of arms with creative solutions to dynamic issues. This isn't your typical leadership course to be ready to step up your game and define the future. I am your host, Gabriel Gabe Rockavilla. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Breaking Red podcast, where we develop rising military leaders that seek to trailblaze the future. I'm your host, Gabriel Gabe Rockavilla, and on today's episode, we're going to focus on hashtag DBAA. Going to talk about the genesis behind the hashtag, the meaning behind the hashtag, and how this idea can help you build stronger teams. So, did you know that we work, hopefully you do know, we work in a multi-generational workplace environment. We have roughly 5 different generations working at a given time within the environment, especially in the Air Force Work Center. So I actually had my first airman who was born in the year 2000. She was born in February of the year 2000, and she reported to unit, and it was a formative moment, to the point where I invited her up on stage during my commander's call, and I interviewed her because I wanted to make sure that we talked about this beforehand, but I interviewed her to see how much did she know about my generation, and then how much I could ask her questions that I knew about her generation. So I asked her about, she did not know quotes about Top Gun, which is disheartening to me, but I did ask her questions about certain pop music things going on right now, and she knew about it. And so it was just an interesting thing, but I brought her up on stage to show that, hey, so we all need to seek to understand each other, because we all come from different generations, we all come from different workplaces, and that diversity is important. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood as a positive thing, not a negative thing. But I'm going to talk about hashtag DBAA. So if you have been fortunate, to hear me talk about these things in person, it actually formed, I had to come up with this idea over time, and it's a really interesting story that I'm going to share with you today of how I came up with this idea. I didn't even come up with it by myself. I came up with it half by myself. That's not a thing. I came up with the idea with another person, and then we formed it up. First portion of DBAA. So as kind of going along, the original intent was I started getting prepared for a commander's call that was going to happen before a long weekend. And like any kind of before a long weekend, like, we have to make sure that everybody has a plan and stay out of trouble. We have this whole normal thing we talk about. And I was like, I really don't want to talk about that. I don't want to have to say these things, because it's going to come off disingenuous when I just go over the obligatory, have a plan, call an airman, call your friend, don't do stupid things, stay in school, stay off of drugs. Like, all those things they're not from a genuine place. I didn't want to have to say those things out loud. So I was talking to my first sergeant at the time, Tom Rohr, and we started talking about all these things are just pointing to a root cause. Those are just symptoms. Those are symptoms to a root cause of making poor decisions. So, because all those things, inevitably, what you're trying to remind people is not to make bad decisions. So I was like, all right, cool. So instead of me talking about all the symptoms, why don't I address the root cause? And the reason why I wanted to do that, again, is I didn't want to sit there and just rattle off the normal long weekend pre-safety briefing as the current squadron commander. So I actually didn't use any of those words, because Tom and I talked about how we were going to just come up with a different idea. So again, we were focused on the root cause, and the root cause of making poor decisions is being an asshole, in our opinion. And so the easy way to do that is just don't be one. Just don't be an asshole. So we jokingly kind of like hashtag DBAA, don't be an asshole, because that was a quick way for us to summarize exactly what we were talking about. And I think I hit on a certain term that actually made sense. So I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to talk about that at commander's call. He advised me, sir, I don't really know if you want to do that. And I said, noted. And in general, I always do what I want. Because I thought it was the right decision. And so I came up with, my normal commander's call spiel that I want to talk about, and then it came to a point where I needed to explain exactly. I actually started sending out like reminders to the squadron, and then I would say I would input in the email hashtag DBAA, and we're going to talk about the commander's call. So I was planting the seeds for a conversation. So I explained to them during my normal end of the commander's call 10-minute spiel I had my own corresponding slide deck and whatever. And I was like, here's the whole thing that's going on. I'm not going to sit here and repeat to you the same safety message before everything, because I'm going to treat you like an adult. I think you're all good. You're smart enough to make your own decisions. And if you make a poor decision, I will hold you accountable to that poor decision. And that's that. And I got a lot of good positive head nods. It wasn't me trying to tell them that they were beyond making any smart decisions. Like, no, I expect you to be an adult, so just be an adult. I also expect you to not be an asshole. And so I think it kind of took them off kilter a little bit, where they were not probably used to an officer, let alone their squadron commander, using language like "don't be an asshole." So I had to shorten it to #DBAA. That way, I wasn't necessarily repeating the language, but I was repeating my intent. My intent was, I really want you to just make good decisions and be a good person. And if you can quickly call each other out and just be like, hey, so #DBAA, that's a really quick way for people to understand, like, I'm either going to make a bad decision, I need to not do that, or before I head too far down that road, I can avoid having to make that decision because I'm not making assholery decisions. That's not a word, but I'm going to use it now. So instead of treating symptoms, let's treat the root cause. The root cause of poor things is being an asshole. So just stop doing that. Don't be an asshole. So I did it within the squadron, talked about it a little bit, and even had more follow-on conversations with the airmen to be like, no, seriously, this is what I want to talk about and what I expect of you. And it was refreshing from what I gathered from them. They were being treated like adults. I talked to them like adults, and then we moved forward from there. From that point on, I actually went into even further out. I got invited to a first sergeant symposium, and like anything, they have those squadron commander panels. So it's me and 2 other squadron commanders, and for an hour, you're awkwardly sitting in front of the entire first sergeant, everybody who's wanting to become a first sergeant, and they ask you Q&A session as far as whatever is going on. And I think one of the questions came up of, you know, what kind of things do you offer up as your leadership narrative, your personal experience, how to treat people. And I came up and I repeated it. And I said, hey, so my first sergeant doesn't know I'm going to talk about that, nor does the commandant of the PME center know I'm going to talk about this, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. And it's called #don't be an asshole. And they're like, wait, what? And again, it was a little bit more, these are all, you know, master sergeants and master sergeant selects hearing this language from me. And I was like, no, seriously, you need to tell people and figure out a language to connect with people across all generations within the workplace. Because everybody can quickly identify asshole behavior. So if you just don't do those kind of things, then you're going to be, you immediately know that, like, you can call each other out and be like, hey man, so how about you stop being an asshole? And then that theoretically should eliminate that behavior. So as I brought it about, and then one of my fellow squadron commanders, they said, I think you may be a good wingman. And I said, no, that's different. First of all, being a good wingman just sounds it's old now. That there is no attachment to that phrase, because it's just a general, like, oh, just be a good wingman. If I say don't be an asshole, you immediately grab their attention. People are like, yeah, that's something that I actually want to identify with, versus that I feel, not necessarily that I don't want to be a good wingman, but if I don't want to be an asshole, that almost goes down to a core position of being a good human being, because good human beings are not assholes. And so just started talking about it, and even furthered got some laughs in the audience, whatever it is. The important piece, though, is people remembered what I was talking about. And so I would often see these tech sergeant, master sergeant out in whatever capacity. And then I was like, hey, man, you have any DBA movements or moments? And they're like, yeah, sir, here's what we had. And I kind of quickly squashed poor behavior by just saying, don't be an asshole. And I was like, good. That's the part that's most important. It's not delivering the effect is going to be important. And if you can find a genuine way to deliver an effect by using language like don't be an asshole or #DBA, now you've delivered something that's going to be value added. Third time I went public with it was actually at a huge, at our ILE on base, intermediate leadership experience, also known as NCO Academy. You know, it was a huge PT thing. I would always, if I had one of our airmen involved in the class, I would join them. And it was like a huge fireman's challenge. You had, for the entire class, you had to run like a total of like 100 miles and then do like 1,000 burpees and 2,000 push-ups and 3,000 squats or something like that. But you had to do it as a class. So if you broke it all up, it was manageable within an hour. In any case, I went there as one of the oldest squadron commanders goes to this event. And then the chief at the time, who was a commandant, and he asked me, do I have any closing remarks? I was like, okay. And I actually didn't ask anybody permission, and I just said it. I was like, here's what I expect of you as frontline supervisors. Don't be an asshole. And I told them, I said, if you see someone struggling in your class and studying and you're good at that topic, don't be an asshole. Go over there and help them. If you see someone struggling with PT and they're not really good at running, but you are good at running, don't be an asshole. Go over there and help them because clearly they need some help. Same thing if studying, I'm not the best studier. So if someone could help me study for this test, don't be an asshole. Lend your help and form your study groups or figure it out. Just be a good person. If you're going to be part of an effective PME experience, you need to go out there and make sure that everybody graduates correctly, not necessarily just you are shining. Nobody wants to be that guy or girl that's trying to shoot for a DG. Everybody knows that the best classes are the ones where everybody is just working together to try and graduate and get through it together. So those are several iterations, my initial things about going public about #DBAA. And so why did I believe I needed to take those actions? Why was DBAA needed now, and how can you use it effectively? I honestly believe that people want to hear and experience genuine care for each other instead of reciting the same hollow message over and over. So in other words, be a good wingman just inevitably gets played out, and that's so it becomes disingenuous, and you have the ability to use a different vernacular like #DBAA. That way you can kind of quickly call out negative behavior and highlight positive behavior. And it's a really, really quick way in order to just do things that call people out on their own stuff. For instance, I used to, when I was a active CrossFit coach and affiliate manager for Now to 7 CrossFit, key thing about when you're done with classes, you put your equipment away. Just like when you're in the gym. If you go to the free gym on base, if you're done with your whatever you're doing, deadlifts or wall balls, whatever the equipment happens to be, you should put your equipment away. That should not be anything that someone has to remind you for. I don't care that there's signs around the gym. Why would you not just put away the equipment accordingly where it belongs? But a lot of people don't. So we would call each other out. I would see people finish off their workout when I'm leading class, and then I would see them walk away and start to leave, and I'd be like, hey man, don't be an asshole. Go ahead and put your stuff away. They're like, oh yeah, my bad. And they would put it away. Or we would send pictures of equipment left out or napkins or whatever, just things that were just left in the gym that should have been put away. We would actually, as coaching staff, we would hold each other accountable and text pictures to the rest of the coaches, be like, hey, and all we had to say was #DBAA. Everybody knew without having to go into this long, drawn-out conversation as far as why that stuff needed to be put away. They knew if I wasn't operating like an asshole, I would have put that equipment away. So it's a quick way for people to just understand and normal behavior that should be that's respectable for everybody else, and it minimizes negative behavior. So it doesn't take much. All you can have to do is #DBAA, and people will start to shape their behavior accordingly. So I've used #DBAA both in lots of places, and I really, really believe it's a method to just call people out and be like, hey man, and you don't have to call them out embarrassingly or whatever it is. Just say it really quick, and then they're going to be like, yeah, you're right. I probably can minimize my asshole behavior and just do the right thing. And it's just a thing of maybe it's turning in reports on time. Maybe it's not extending a meeting for so damn long because you just feel like talking. There's ways that we communicate and across multi-generations. So this is something to where if you were to say this to someone, regardless of their age, they will probably understand and respond what you're talking about, because other phrases are going to become open to interpretation. There is no interpretation of just don't be an asshole. And I really believe, you can identify the people around you who's going to respond to it and really get to the point and move forward from there. So what do you guys think? Do you disagree with it? Is it too much of is it too unprofessional? Part of that is the reason why I don't say don't be an asshole. I say #DBAA because it's a way to immediately address something without using necessarily the salty language people would be turned off on. So If you have any opinions on it, be curious, leave your comments in our various social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, you know what it is. Make sure you hit those subscribe buttons because it's going to be important for you to keep up with our conversations. And I just want to see what you guys think about it. I actually printed off some hashtag DBAA stickers. I got a small handful because I just felt like printing them off on my own. And so I could figure out a way that if you're interested in getting one of these stickers, just let me know, and I'll probably just out of my own pocket send it to you because I think it's kind of cool. Because I firmly believe if we could just stop asshole behaviors, our force is going to be a much better place. So, episode 3, Gabe Rock, Breaking Red podcast. This is awesome. I'm really having a good time recording these things and putting my thoughts down. It's still kind of awkward, me having to figure out how to organize my thoughts by myself. I'm looking forward to having co-hosts on the podcast and other people to join me in the conversation. I work better within a conversational dynamic versus a one-way conversation. But I'm excited to put my energy out there and see where this goes. So looking forward to hearing more from you. Let's break red. Peace.